The police station doors swung open, and a woman stepped inside. Her name was Sophia Martinez. She wore a plain black business suit, her hair neatly tied back. The air inside smelled of coffee and sweat, and every head turned as she walked across the lobby. Sophia moved calmly toward the front desk, clutching a brown envelope in her hand. "Good morning," she said softly. "I'm here to see the mayor." The officer behind the desk didn't even look up. Another officer, tall, broad, and loud, stepped out from a nearby hallway. His name tag read Sanchez. He stared at her for a long second, then smirked. "The mayor doesn't see people like you," he said, his voice thick with arrogance. Sophia blinked once, still polite. "I have an appointment," she replied. That was when Sanchez's hand shot forward. The slap landed hard. The sound echoed through the entire lobby like a whip cracking in church. Sophia's head turned slightly from the force, but she didn't fall. She didn't even raise her hand to touch her face. Gasps filled the room. Phones stopped midair. Every officer nearby froze, even the ones pretending not to see. Sanchez took a step closer, his face red with anger. "Didn't you hear me?" he barked. "Get out of my station. The mayor doesn't meet with trash like you." Sophia slowly turned her face back toward him. Her cheek burned, a red mark forming against her dark skin. But her eyes stayed cold, steady cold. Then, in a voice so controlled it made the room silent, she said, "I'm the new police chief." The words hung in the air like thunder that hadn't struck yet. For a moment, nobody moved. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. Before we continue, dear viewers, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. What happens next will leave you speechless. For a few seconds, the whole station stayed quiet. Then a laugh broke the silence. It came from Officer Sanchez. It started small, then grew louder, until it filled every corner of the lobby. "Did you all hear that?" he shouted between laughs. "She says she's the new police chief." Several officers turned from their desks. Some smirked, others shook their heads. The room that had been still a moment ago now buzzed with low chuckles and whispers. Sophia didn't move. She stood straight, her hand still holding the brown envelope. The red mark on her cheek glowed under the harsh white lights. "I'm not here for jokes," she said quietly. Sanchez took a few steps closer, towering over her. His badge caught the light. His breath smelled like coffee and arrogance. "Lady, you better stop pretending," he said, "before I throw you out myself." Sophia looked up at him, her calm voice cutting through the noise. "You've already done enough." That quiet reply made a few officers exchange nervous glances. Something about her stillness made people uneasy, but Sanchez only sneered. "You think you can come in here with a fake letter and scare people?" he said. He snatched the brown envelope from her hand. The sound of tearing paper filled the lobby as he ripped it open and pulled out a single sheet. The city seal shimmered in gold. Under the light, the signature. At the bottom read Mayor Jackson Cole. Sanchez squinted at it, his lips moving as he read. His smirk slowly faded. But then, like a man desperate to hold his pride, he tore the paper in half. "Nice try," he said. "This is fake." Pieces of paper floated to the floor. Sophia watched them fall, but said nothing. At the corner of the lobby, Emily Rogers, a young officer standing near the water dispenser, felt her stomach twist. She had never seen Sanchez go this far before. She wanted to say something, but her voice stuck in her throat. Sanchez crossed his arms. "So, Chief," he said, mockingly, "where's your fancy car? Where's your security detail? I came here alone, Sophia said. I don't need guards to prove who I am. Her voice stayed steady, but inside she could feel her heart pressing against her ribs. She remembered the mayor's words the night before. They don't know you're coming yet. Go in as you are. See the truth for yourself. And now she was seeing it. The truth was standing right in front of her, wearing a badge and laughing at her face. Sanchez leaned against the front desk, trying to look relaxed. You've got some nerve, he said. You walk in here like you own the place, and then you lie straight to my face. Behind him, 2 security guards shifted uncomfortably. The silence that followed felt heavy. The air smelled of sweat and cheap air freshener. Sophia finally bent down and picked up one of the torn pieces of her letter. She brushed off the dust and looked at it for a moment. The city seal was still visible, a small circle of gold and blue. This was an official document, she said slowly, and by tearing it, you just committed a federal offense. Sanchez laughed again, louder this time. A federal offense? Lady, you're out of your mind. He looked around at the other officers. Can you believe this? She's threatening me now. A few laughed with him, but not all. Some just watched, uncertain. Emily Rogers took a small step forward, her hand holding her phone under her belt. She pressed the record button quietly. Sophia's voice stayed calm. You can tear paper, she said, but you can't tear the truth. That line made Sanchez stop for a brief second. Something in her tone made him blink, but pride pushed him back into cruelty. He pointed his finger in her face. You've got 5 seconds to get out of here before I drag you out myself. Sophia didn't move. Her eyes met his, steady as stone. Try, she said simply. A murmur rippled through the room. Nobody had ever spoken to Sanchez like that. The ticking of the wall clock became loud again, each second stretching longer than the last. Then footsteps echoed from the stairwell, slow, deliberate steps. Expensive shoes against the old tiled floor. Heads turned. A man appeared at the top of the stairs. Mayor Jackson Cole. Every officer straightened at once. Sanchez's smirk fell away. Mr. Mayor, he stammered, this woman was causing a disturbance, claims to be the new chief. The mayor's voice cut through the air like a blade. Yes, Officer Sanchez, he said coldly. I can see you've already met your new commanding officer. The room froze again. Sophia stood quietly, her face calm, but inside she felt the weight of every stare pressing against her. Sanchez's lips parted, but no words came out. His skin turned pale. Yes, sir. I didn't know. The mayor didn't look at him. He turned to Sophia and nodded with a faint smile. Chief Martinez, he said, I apologize for your welcome. It seems your first day has been educational. Sophia straightened her jacket, brushing away the last piece of torn paper from her sleeve. No apology needed, sir, she said. I've already learned more than I expected. Sanchez's knees trembled. The laughter that had filled the room minutes ago had turned into silence. All eyes stayed on Sophia, the woman they had just mocked, the woman who now stood as their new chief. The only sound left was the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the click of Emily's phone as she stopped recording. Sophia turned toward the officers. Get back to work, she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but no one missed the authority in it. As she walked past Sanchez, he lowered his eyes. His pride had cracked, and he knew the storm was just beginning. Behind her, the mayor's voice echoed. You'll answer for this, Officer Sanchez. All of you will. Sophia didn't look back. She just kept walking down the hallway, the sound of her heels steady against the floor. For the first time in years, the station was truly silent, not from respect, but from fear. And that was only the beginning. The mayor's footsteps faded down the hall, leaving the station in a heavy silence. Every eye followed Sophia Martinez as she walked toward the main office. Her face was calm, but her thoughts were loud. Every moment replayed in her mind the slap, the laughter, the torn letter. Yet beneath all that, one question burned quietly inside her. What kind of department had she just inherited? She opened the door to what used to be the chief's office. Dust covered the desk. A broken chair sat in the corner. The air was thick with the smell of old coffee and neglect. Sophia closed the door gently and took a long breath. She had led difficult units before, but this place was different. It wasn't just disorganized, it was rotten. The slap had shown her more than any report ever could. A soft knock came at the door. "Come in," she said. The door opened slowly, and Emily Rogers stepped inside. She looked nervous, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. "Chief," she began softly, "are you okay?" Sophia looked up from the desk. "You recorded it, didn't you?" Emily's eyes widened. "How did I saw you move your hand?" Sophia said. "You were brave to do that." Emily nodded slowly, her throat tight. "I didn't plan to. It just felt wrong, what he did. I've seen Sanchez lose his temper before, but never like that." Sophia leaned forward slightly. "How long has this been happening?" Emily hesitated, then whispered, "Too long." Her voice cracked. "It's not just him. There are others, Chief. Some are worse. They target certain people mostly from the market district. They arrest them for nothing, fine them for small things, take bribes to let them go." Sophia's hands tightened around the edge of the desk. "Who else knows?" Emily swallowed. "Everyone. And no one. The older officers pretend not to see. The younger ones are too scared to speak. And internal affairs? They don't investigate anything unless it benefits them." Sophia sat back in her chair. "Patrick Morgan," she murmured, remembering the name from her briefing. "He's the director of internal affairs here, isn't he?" Emily nodded quickly. "Yes. And he protects Sanchez. They're connected somehow. There are shifts that don't match, money that doesn't make sense." Sophia was silent for a long time. She looked out the window toward the parking lot, where the flag barely moved in the wind. "Officer Rogers," she said at last, "keep that video safe. Don't send it to anyone yet. I'll need your help soon." Emily blinked. "My help?" "Yes," Sophia said firmly. "You're one of the few I can trust right now." The young woman nodded slowly, her voice trembling. "I'll do whatever you need, Chief." Sophia smiled faintly, though the pain in her cheek still stung. "Good. We'll start by finding out who's truly running this place." Emily left the room quietly, leaving Sophia alone again. She looked around the office. On the wall hung an old photo, a group of officers smiling in their uniforms. One of them was Sanchez. Another stood slightly behind him, heavy-set, sharp eyes, Patrick Morgan. Sophia studied the photo closely. Their smiles looked forced, too wide, too proud. She knew the type men who hid cruelty behind badges. The door opened again, without knocking this time. Officer Sanchez stepped in. His face was red, but his tone was careful. "Chief Martinez," he said stiffly, "I came to apologize." Sophia turned slowly to face him. "For what?" "For what? For what happened earlier." His words stumbled over themselves. "It was a misunderstanding." She raised an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding is forgetting someone's name, "Officer, what you did was an assault." He flinched. "Look, I didn't know who you were." "That's the problem," Sophia said. "You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with respect." Her voice was calm, but every word hit like a stone. Sanchez looked down at the floor. "It won't happen again," he muttered. "Oh, I know it won't," Sophia said, "because from this moment, every camera in this station will work 24 hours a day, and every report will cross my desk." He looked up sharply. "That's not how we do things here. It is now." Her eyes didn't leave his. "Is there anything else, Officer Sanchez?" He clenched his jaw. "No, Chief." "Good," she said softly. "You can go." He turned quickly and left, his shoulders stiff with anger. The moment the door closed, Sophia's calm expression faded. She knew his kind men who didn't forget humiliation. Men who'd rather destroy others than face their own shame. Outside the office, Sanchez's boots stomped against the hallway floor. He leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. A few other officers passed him, pretending not to see the rage burning in his eyes. He pulled out his phone and typed a message with shaking hands. "We have a problem." Inside, Sophia opened her laptop and began typing her first internal memo. And GT effective immediately. All security footage, daily rosters, and complaint reports are to be delivered directly to the chief's office. Failure to comply will result in suspension. Her fingers paused on the keyboard. She looked at her reflection in the dark laptop screen, tired eyes, a bruised cheek, but steady resolve. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone who had been slapped, insulted, or silenced and never got to speak back. She closed the laptop and whispered to herself, "Let's see what they're hiding." The fluorescent lights flickered above her head. Somewhere down the hall, a phone rang and went unanswered. Outside, thunder rolled faintly in the distance. A storm was coming not from the sky, but from inside those walls. And Sophia Martinez was the lightning that would break it open. The next morning, the air inside the station felt heavier. Word had already spread that the new chief wasn't backing down. Some officers walked faster when Sophia passed, others avoided looking at her altogether. Sophia didn't mind the silence. It gave her time to observe. Every movement, every whisper in the hall told her something. She entered the IT room, where a young man sat surrounded by monitors. His name was Ethan, the station's tech specialist. He looked startled when she walked in. "Chief Martinez," he said quickly, standing up. "I wasn't expecting relax," Sophia said gently. "I just need a favor." Ethan blinked. "Of course, ma'am. I want every piece of security footage from the last 6 months, she said. "And I mean everything lobby, hallways, cells, parking lot." Ethan frowned. "That's a lot of data, Chief. Usually, internal affairs handles that." Sophia's voice stayed calm. "Not anymore." He hesitated. "Patrick Morgan won't like that." "I know," Sophia said. "That's why you're going to do it quietly." Ethan nodded slowly. Something about her voice made him trust her. "I'll start right away." Sophia turned to leave, but stopped at the door. "Ethan," she said softly, "don't tell anyone we spoke." "I won't, Chief." When she stepped back into the hallway, she saw Emily Rogers waiting with a folder in her hands. "You wanted the daily rosters?" Emily asked. "Yes," Sophia said, taking them. "How far back do they go?" 3 months, but the earlier ones are missing. They were checked out by Internal Affairs last week and never returned. Sophia flipped through the pages. The numbers didn't add up. Some officers appeared twice on the same day. Others clocked in for shifts that didn't exist. She looked up. "Emily, find out who signed off on these." Emily's eyes darted nervously. If I start asking questions, they'll know something's going on. Sophia gave her a small, reassuring smile. Then don't ask. Just look. Emily nodded and walked away quickly. Sophia returned to her office and spread the papers across her desk. Names, times, signatures, it all looked official, but she could see the pattern forming. Some shifts were ghost hours, impossible overlaps. A soft knock came at the door. She looked up to see a gray-haired man wearing a janitor's uniform. "Chief?" he said softly. Sophia recognized him from her first day. "Arthur, right?" He nodded. "Yes, ma'am. Been cleaning this place for 15 years. She gestured for him to come in. "What can I do for you, Arthur?" He held up a small flash drive. "You might want to see this." Sophia's eyes narrowed. "What is it?" "Old footage," he said quietly. "Stuff they thought was deleted." She took the drive and plugged it into her laptop. The screen flickered to life black and white clips from security cameras. A woman at the front desk, crying. Sanchez yelling at her. A man with a cane being shoved. A teenager thrown against a wall. Sophia felt her stomach twist. Every clip showed the same thing, different people, same cruelty. Arthur's voice was low and steady. "I keep everything, Chief. Sometimes truth needs a place to hide until the right person shows up." Sophia turned to him. "Why didn't you give this to anyone before?" He sighed. "Tried once. They told me to mind my business. Next day, my locker got emptied. So I waited." Sophia's throat tightened. "Thank you for trusting me." Arthur nodded and left quietly, closing the door behind him. Sophia sat still for a long moment, the screen glowing in front of her. She pressed play again, this time watching Sanchez's face as he pushed the crying woman away. His expression wasn't anger, it was habit. She reached for her phone and called Emily. "Get Ethan in my office now?" Within minutes, Ethan and Emily stood by her desk, both looking uneasy. Sophia pointed at the laptop. "You both need to see this." They leaned in. Ethan's mouth dropped open. "Chief, these dates line up with the missing rosters." Emily covered her mouth. "It's the same people, the ones from the Market District." Sophia nodded. "I want full access to internal affairs records. I don't care if they're locked. Find me a way in." Ethan hesitated. "That could get me fired." Sophia looked him straight in the eye. "Or it could save this department." He nodded slowly. "I'll do it." While Ethan worked on the computer, Sophia stood by the window, watching the rain start to fall outside. The city lights blurred against the wet glass. Emily spoke softly. "Chief, what if they find out we're digging into this?" Sophia turned to her. "Then they'll show us exactly who they are." Minutes passed before Ethan finally said, "Got it." On the screen appeared financial records, emails, and digital logs. The amounts were shocking, thousands of dollars marked as overtime or equipment purchases that didn't exist. Sophia's chest felt heavy. "They've been stealing from the city for years." Ethan scrolled further. "It's not just money. Look at this." An email thread between Patrick Morgan and Officer Sanchez appeared. "And GT Market Days. Same plan. Collect and split. 60/40. Emily gasped. "They've been extorting people in the Market District." Sophia's hand tightened into a fist, and the city council signed off on it. Ethan clicked on another file. The name Councilman Peters flashed on the screen. Sophia stared at it for a long time. Then she said, "Download everything. Make copies. One for me, one for the mayor, and one that no one can find." Ethan nodded quickly. The room stayed silent, except for the hum of the computer. Outside, thunder rolled again. Sophia looked at the screen one last time, the evidence of a system built on fear and greed. "This isn't a police department," she said quietly. "It's a business built on pain." Emily looked at her. "What are we going to do now?" Sophia turned toward them, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. "We're going to turn on the lights," she said, "and let the whole city see what's been hiding in the dark." By sunrise, the evidence was ready. 3 flash drives lay on Sophia's desk, one for the mayor, one for herself, and one hidden for safety. She hadn't slept. She didn't need to. The truth had a way of keeping people awake. Ethan entered quietly, holding a folder. "Chief, there's more," he said. "Last night, while I was pulling files, I found this." He opened the folder to reveal printed emails conversations between Patrick Morgan, Sanchez, and Councilman Peters. The words were bold and cruel. "And GT, the new chief's a woman. She won't last long. If she starts asking questions, we'll handle it. Market vendors will stay scared. Money keeps flowing." Sophia's stomach twisted. The arrogance on paper was worse than the violence she'd seen on screen. She looked up at Ethan. "Do they know you found this?" "I don't think so," he said quietly. "But Sanchez hasn't been seen since last night." Sophia frowned. "Find him." Before Ethan could answer, the door opened. Emily Rogers stepped in, pale-faced. "Chief, you need to come to the main hall, now." Sophia followed her down the hallway. The air felt thick, almost electric. When they entered the hall, dozens of officers were standing in rows, some whispering, some staring at the floor. At the front stood Patrick Morgan, his shirt collar open, his eyes cold. "Chief Martinez," he said smoothly, "I hear you've been busy." Sophia stopped a few feet from him. "I've been doing my job," Patrick smiled faintly. "Your job is to maintain order, not dig through private files." "Private files don't include stolen money and broken people," Sophia replied. His smile faded. "You don't understand how this department works." She stepped closer. "No, Director Morgan. I understand exactly how it works. That's the problem." The hall fell silent. Behind Patrick, Sanchez appeared, his uniform wrinkled, his eyes wild. "You think you can destroy everything?" he shouted. "You don't belong here." Sophia didn't flinch. "I belong anywhere justice does." Patrick raised a hand to silence Sanchez, but it was too late. The words had already cracked the air open. Sophia turned toward the officers watching. "I want you all to see something," she said. She gestured to Ethan, who rolled a TV screen to the front. The lights dimmed as he pressed play. The video showed the lobby footage from her first day, the slap, the laughter, the silence that followed. Gasps echoed through the room. Some officers lowered their heads in shame. Sophia's voice stayed calm. "What you just saw wasn't an isolated mistake. It was a reflection of what this department became." The next clip rolled market vendors being harassed, envelopes changing hands, men and women shoved and mocked. When the video ended, Sophia turned toward Patrick and Sanchez. "You both built this system," she said. "You made people believe fear was law." Patrick tried to speak, but she cut him off. "Not anymore." She looked to Emily. "Officer Rogers." Emily stepped forward, holding a thick file. "These are statements from officers who've come forward," she said. "They've confirmed everything: ghost shifts, extortion, fake overtime, cover-ups." Patrick's face went pale. "You can't prove." Sophia held up her hand. "We already did." Ethan clicked another file. The audio from the hidden camera played. Patrick's own voice filled the hall. "And GT, the new chief's a diversity stunt. Keep the payments coming. Market days collect the usual. If anyone complains, remind them who controls the police. The sound of his voice against the silence was louder than any slap. Patrick's shoulders slumped. Sanchez took a step back, his mouth dry. Sophia looked around the hall. "This is what corruption sounds like," she said. "It doesn't shout. It whispers. It laughs. It hides behind titles." She paused. "But today, it ends." She turned to Emily. "Officer Rogers, place them under arrest." Emily hesitated, then stepped forward. Her hands trembled as she handcuffed Patrick Morgan first, then Sanchez. The moment the cuffs clicked, whispers spread through the crowd: disbelief, relief, fear. Sergeant Walker stepped out from the back, his face unreadable. "Chief," he said, "what happens to the rest of us?" Sophia met his eyes. "That depends on you," she said quietly. "You can stand for truth or stay silent and sink with them." He looked around the room. Younger officers stared at him, waiting. After a long pause, he nodded. "Then I stand with you." Sophia gave a small nod. "Good. Because this isn't just about punishment. It's about rebuilding." She walked to the front of the hall and faced everyone. "From today, this badge means something different. It's not power over people, it's protection for them." Her voice grew stronger. "Every complaint from now on will go straight to an independent review board. Every body camera stays on. Every hour worked will be checked, and every apology owed will be given in person." Emily raised her head proudly. "Chief, what about the victims in the Market District?" Sophia smiled faintly. "We start with them." A few officers clapped softly. Then others joined. The sound grew until the hall echoed with applause, not out of celebration, but out of hope. Later that evening, Sophia stood in the same lobby where she'd been slapped days before. The lights were softer now, the walls freshly painted. Officers greeted citizens politely. An elderly woman entered, carrying a small box of oranges. "Mrs. Wilson." She smiled shyly. "Chief Martinez?" Sophia turned. "Mrs. Wilson, please, come in." The woman set the box on the counter. "These are for you," she said. "My daughter said you changed everything." Sophia smiled warmly. "No, ma'am. We all did." Mrs. Wilson's eyes filled with tears. "My Lily says she wants to be a police officer like you." Sophia felt a lump in her throat. "Then tell her the door's open. For everyone." The woman hugged her gently, then left. Sophia stood there for a long moment, looking around the station. The place that once reeked of fear now felt alive. Ethan approached quietly. "Chief, the mayor's on line 1. Sophia smiled. "Tell him justice finally checked in." As she walked back toward her office, the same security camera blinked above her, the one that had recorded everything. She stopped and looked straight at it. To everyone watching, she said softly, "Never stay silent when you see wrong. One voice can change everything." She turned and walked down the hall, her steps calm and steady, a woman who had faced hate and answered it with truth. And for the first time in years, the station didn't smell like fear anymore. It smelled like justice. Dear viewers, Sophia Martinez walked into that police station with nothing but a letter in her hand and walked out having changed an entire system. What began with one slap of humiliation turned into a storm of truth that no one could silence. She didn't fight with violence. She fought with evidence, courage, and calm strength. Her story reminds us all that power isn't about shouting the loudest, it's about standing firm when everyone expects you to break. Because sometimes justice doesn't wear a badge. Sometimes it walks in quietly, gets slapped in the face, and still chooses to stand tall. If Sophia had stayed silent, corruption would have lived another day. But she refused to bow. And because she spoke up, others found their voice too. So wherever you're watching from tonight, remember this: change doesn't start in a courtroom or on the news. It starts with one person who says, "Enough." If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Your voice matters because every view, every comment, every share spreads stories like this one further than hate ever could. And until the next story, remember, justice begins with you.